What's up, nerds? All right. So today I am I'm bored and I'm procrastinating. I don't have any real estate work to do and I miss church and I don't want to go Uber. So I was like, well, let's be productive and make a YouTube video. I was like, what can I do? So I think I'm just going to flow again today like I did last episode and let you get to know me a little bit better by exploring my YouTube channel, my YouTube feed actually, and just BSing with y'all. So yeah, let's do it. Let's see what my YouTube's throwing out at me today. Let me jump you over. I think I got everything fixed now too. I actually recorded this already and there was no audio. So yeah, I love it when that happens, like a 20-30 minute video and the audio doesn't work. That's always great. Love that for me. Alrighty. So let's see what YouTube's putting out. So I've been already watching this today. It came out, it looks like the end of yesterday. This is the All In podcast, one of my favorite business podcasts ever. If you are a young entrepreneur, ambitious, you're trying to start a business, you're in real estate, you're in finances, you're in the markets, it honestly, it doesn't even matter because everything impacts everything, right? This is a great business podcast. The four guys you see right here on the thumbnail are going to be David Sachs, who's the crypto czar and AI czar, Chamath, who is a big time Facebook employee who they're all billionaires. They're all self made billionaires, basically. You've got David on the bottom right, who was Google, I believe, and so the top two, David Sachs is obviously like a pretty typical new modern wave Republican on the Trump administration. Chamath was historically a Democrat, and he has shifted to a more moderate conservative type of person who is pro Trump administration. David on the bottom right is going to be libertarian, maybe a little bit more liberal in some areas, a little bit more conservative in others, kind of a nerdy guy, very techie, understands a multifaceted amount of things like the markets to tech to business. And then Jason is the guy who brought them all together and started the podcast. I'm giving him props to that. He is probably, in all fairness, my least favorite of the four. He was very like Trump derangement-y for the longest time and has now kind of come around to still very critical of Trump, but he is warmed up to the Trump administration and is a little bit more honest about the pros and the cons and not so biased. Still kind of biased, but less so. And you're able to like have a conversation about Trump without him just like, he would beat that horse to death and it got a little old sometimes, but got to give him props for throwing it together. He's obviously a hyper successful guy. I think he's actually out of Austin or lives in Austin maybe. So he's here in Texas like me. Next we've got Luke Belmar. If you have not watched Luke Belmar and you are a young, driven, hyper ambitious person, you've probably seen Luke Belmar on your feed. I really like Luke Belmar. If you hadn't come across him yet, when he got tied to the Tates and went over to the Tates and had like some really deep talks with like, Tristan and the Fresh and Fit guys, Myron and gosh, I'm forgetting the other guy's name, but there were like some really deep talks about health and food, what they're, how to live your life, how to be healthier, drinking water, not drinking soda, avoiding fluoride. Like there's some really good stuff. Luke Belmar touches on a lot of stuff that I really connect with, from health and fitness all the way to God and spirituality and your soul. And I think in the same way that I'm constantly I'm trying to bridge the gap between my spiritual journey and my belief in God and my hyper ambitious desires for success and ambition and earthly goals. And I think there's a merging, and I think Luke does a great job of touching on that in a lot of different stuff. So if you've come across him, that's kind of who he is, and he's a super fascinating guy who I really like, and I think he just does a great job. I'm going to click on this actually. Let's watch a little bit of this.
Declined heavily.
What is success to you, brother?
To me,
Yeah.
peace of mind and $1 billion.
1 billion, 2 billion, 3 billion.
Exactly. What is success to you?
The wealthiest man is the one that wakes up with the least pressure on his chest.
That's good.
That's
What about
good.
you, Jordan?
I feel like it's having something that you enjoy doing.
I had another episode of him pulled up that I was just watching. Let's see if I can find it. Where's my history? Yeah, here it is. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. Let's watch this one.
All right, bro, as we sit on top of this mountain,
God's creation, brother.
my question for you is, what was the lowest moment in your life?
The lowest point in my life, brother, was when I decided to endeavor into entrepreneurship, and my family kind of rejected it. My parents kind of went away, my family kind of went away, and I was in it for myself. You know, they said, go get a job, do the 9 to 5, do the traditional stuff, and if you don't do that, it felt kind of like they isolated me a lot.
I can really relate to this. Not that necessarily my family isolated me in such a way, but on the pursuit of the journey I'm on, that is so out of the norm of so many people who just have that 9 to 5. They're plugged into the matrix. The idea of not getting a paycheck every week or biweekly and working for a company, the idea of stretching yourself so thin and being without consistent pay, trying to create something for yourself, your own business, your own pipeline. My family just did not relate to this at all. And I can't tell you how many times it was discouraged or just there's such a lack of connection. So, not that they isolated me, but on this journey, I have slowly gotten further. The distance between me and my family, my close relatives, the gap has widened and become a chasm where sometimes there's just not the relatability anymore when I'm talking about my business pursuits, starting a company, when I'm, touching base on my financial struggles, the gaps in pay, in real estate, for example, you can make 20, 40, $60,000 in a month, and then you can go 6 months without making a dime. That is a struggle for most, and most people do not have the desire for that and are not willing to put up with the stress and the challenges that present that to be in that. I mean, so much of it is mentally and spiritually when you're feeling, I am in that season right now. He talks about it. Let's keep on going. But I really relate to this. This is why I like Luke.
It was about 1.5 years, but I realized that it was the necessary thing in order to get to the next level. And I know a ton of people go through it, bro. The having your family hold you back. It was a low point, but now they know the truth. They realize that I was right.
Love that for him.
And we're moving forward.
How did you push past
Good
that?
stuff.
Proving them not with my words, but with my actions. You need to teach people by example.
Yeah.
To somebody at their lowest moment right now watching this video, what do you say to them?
There's only one way, one direction. If you're at the bottom, there's only one way. But you got to look up. And when you look up, there's somebody there waiting for you. His name is G.O.D. And he's there with a hand, reaching out, waiting for you to take control of your life. Because I learned one very important lesson. Your relationship with God is like that of a captain and a crew member. One rows, the other one steers. But it's very interesting because many times in our life we want to get confident and cocky and arrogant. And God says, I steer, but I do not row. We need to put in the work, and God will guide. And that's the greatest lesson I've learned.
That's amazing, brother. You
That's
know,
good stuff.
that piece of wisdom right there might change somebody's life. Somebody at home watching that right now, they might
God's
just...
in control, bro. You just got to put in the hours. You just got to clock in. Gotta do
Facts.
you.
And he
Facts. So obviously that's why I really like Luke Belmar. I mean, this guy's by most standards, a very successful guy. He got it in like e-commerce and all that. So he's done pretty well for himself. So that's why I really do like him. Let's kind of just explore a little bit more of what my feed's putting out to me. How to build the life you want. Here's I need to watch this episode with Flagrant with Andrew Schultz, and he had Bernie on. Man, with Wesley, is it Wesley Hoff, the Christian historian guy? That was such a good episode. If y'all haven't caught that one, you definitely need to. Here's like a market update guy I like to watch. This has been really good so far. I'm about a quarter of the way through it. Patrick Bett, PBD. is on the George Janko. Love George Janko. Love what he's doing. Love how he has, been able to hold on to his beliefs and his soul in the Hollywood content creation environment and started his own thing and has just blown up. And is very honest about his faults and things he doesn't know, but has a really good authenticity. And you can see he's already on episode 112. You can literally follow. I've been following him basically since he started this podcast. When he left the two brothers, I always forget their names, but you have literally been able to see him grow in real time, moving forward. And it's just been an amazing journey. So shout out to George Janko. He's done a great job staying true, and he's extremely honest about his beliefs. He is a very strong Christian. So yeah, this guy's awesome, man, for the hustle and the motivation. And I really love the Diary of CEO. He has a lot of good people on, and I think he's a pretty good interviewer. He has definitely created a great podcast. He has like everything from health and fitness, keto, low carb, anti-cancer, motivational. Obviously, Alex is on right now. Looks like this was 3 months ago. Alex Ramosi does really great stuff for like business creations, hyper motivation. Soft White Underbelly. Dude, if you have not come across the Soft White Underbelly podcast, this guy interviews some of the most interesting, off-the-wall, fascinating people from like, mafia, drug cartel, prostitutes, pimps, psychologists, doctors, attorneys, the divorce attorney with, God, what was that name? Sexton, something Sexton. Was it James Sexton? Hilarious New York divorce attorney. Go check him out. He is great. This guy's obviously inside the Aryan Brotherhood. Shit. Well, there you go. Obviously has crazy interviews with crazy people. Obviously, everybody I think knows Piers Morgan Uncensored. If you're even remotely into politics, he puts out a lot of good stuff. Oh, I really like this guy. Gary Brecka? Yeah, Gary Brecka. This guy was on the 10X. Grant Cardone's business, and they did him dirty from what I did. But this guy is so big into like functional health and fitness. I mean, all of the really fascinating stuff about optimization, methylene blue, all of these really unique, nuanced supplements that a lot of people have not heard of or not tried. I had a super fascinating conversation with my barber. His wife had a very aggressive brain cancer and had tumors, and they were pressing on the brain, causing her to have spasms and seizures and stuff like that. And this was ongoing for a while. And they decided to not, obviously this is not health advice, whatever, I got to cover my butt, but I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just telling you what they told me. But I'm very much so into, I don't always trust the mainstream traditional medical industry, big pharma. I do not think, if they had the cure to cancer, I do not think we would get it. I think it's far more profitable to keep you sick and barely alive and in the system, highly medicated on 12 different prescriptions that are all hyper profitable, blah, 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 rather than saying, hey, here's some lifestyle advice and dietary advice. And, why don't you do some intermittent fasting? Why don't you cut out carbs and sugar? Why don't we try to eat more organic and avoid glyphosate and pesticides? Right? This is not profitable for the medical industries, and it's not even doctors' fault. They're just not taught this. Lobbying down from lobbying and corporate, lobbyists down into the university systems and where their funding's coming from and the material and the things they push. I dealt with this as a business major, where I disagreed strongly with a lot of the economic theory that they teach in most mainstream campuses and universities, where I was going and I was arguing and debating with my economics professors. They had never run a business, never started a business, couldn't tell me about Series LLC creation, taxes, the Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad standard stuff. No one teaches you this stuff. They teach you how to be a employee or a specialist, a cog in the machine, go get a job, get a paycheck, pay the most in taxes, don't ask questions, get 2 weeks off a year, right? Like, dude, I made far less money last year, but still had a fairly successful year, my most profitable year. And I spent 3 weeks in Europe, again, obviously, I'm in a down season right now. Full disclosure, like total transparency. There's highs and lows, but I also backpacked through France and Spain for 3 weeks, stayed at hostels, had a great time. Met a lot of new people, partied a little bit, ate a lot of really cool food, got to see the architecture and the culture. Love it, right? And again, that was a straight 3 weeks, and that was not my only time traveling. I mean, I went back to Paris once again. It's most people, even like people making 250K, I think the highest one of the highest paying jobs you can have is like an anesthesiologist. It's like those people get like two weeks off a year or something. It's like and go ask for like your full 2 weeks of holiday pay you get off. Go try to use it all at once and see how that goes with your boss, with your manager, with the company, whoever, right? Ask for it all at once. Give them 6 months notice. Good luck. You're getting that. I doubt it. Let me hide that. This is my title company I used to run, but it's a franchise. Anyway, yeah, so this guy really dives into a lot of really cool stuff. And so, the barber and my barber's wife. So so they ended up doing a lot of these homeopathic, non-traditional treatments. They were doing nicotine pouches for the anti-parasitic effects, ivermectin. The other one, like fenbendazine or whatever that other anti-parasitic is, methylene blue, food-grade hydrogen peroxide, a whole slew of stuff. Intermittent fasting, low carb, and sunlight, like a sunlight therapy treatment routine, and a whole bunch of other stuff. And knock on wood, praise God, I don't want to jinx anyone, and I'm so happy to hear it. But as far as I know, she's gotten a clean bill of health. The cancer is gone, brain cancer. So this guy is really into a lot of these supplementation, lifestyle, diet, functional fitness, functional health. And he's something you should definitely check out, Gary Brecka. But he did, from what I understand, he got burned by the guys at 10X Health. I was actually watching, I think he's the CEO of 10X Health. It's not Grant Cardone, it's another guy. Seemed like a good guy. Actually, it was Luke Belmar interviewing him. Doesn't seem like necessarily like a bad guy, but it does seem like the deal that this guy and his wife agreed to initially with 10X ended up being very one-sided. And 10X had a lot of control and was being very manipulative. And so, again, I've read the 10X book. I like the multifamily spills Grant Cardone does. He's a very motivational guy. He's from Louisiana like me. I'm not trying to shit on Grant Cardone or 10X. But, yeah, this guy has some very off-putting and potentially disturbing stuff to say about his experience, his particular individual business experience with 10X Health. So, which I don't know if 10X, I think 10X Health is I believe that's connected with Grant Cardone. Yeah, here it is again, Grant Cardone and Gary Brecka's fallout. Okay, yeah, and he talks about it. I should click that so it adds to my history because I want to watch this.
Okay, well, who paid off who? You clickbaiters out there.
Oh, okay.
This is all I got for you.
Well, this may...
They didn't want to see this go down right here.
No, they hate this. They hate this. They hate
resolution. And, I apologize, too.
Okay, so they made up. Good, beautiful. I love to hear that.
Close the door.
Beautiful.
Let me do you. I've been wanting
I know you have.
Okay, I'm definitely going to watch this because I love, as someone who's in business and has, had not great business outcomes happen in the past, I love to see this happen. People rebuilding those relationships and renewing. I think the key to it all is relationships. So yeah, super excited to see that happening and happy to see it. I've always liked Grant Cardone. So yeah, let's touch on a few other things. I'm going to keep that pulled up. Let's go back to the main feed here. Let's see what it pulls up now. There's Alex Ramonzi again. Obviously, you're getting a vibe for who I am based on what this stuff throws up. There's a lot of CEO stuff. I got to finish this episode. This is the CEO of Alphabet. That's the company that owns Google, Sundar. This has so far been a super interesting episode where I believe David is interviewing Sundar. And they're talking about really fascinating stuff like where Google's going, AI, stuff like that. So got to keep that up. More Luke here. Okay, we got a little Tucker Carlson. Patrick. Okay, here it is, Wesley Huff. This is Wesley Huff. Dude, if you have not come across Wesley Huff, this is a excellent guy to follow. He's from Canada, and he is a religious scholar and historian and linguist. I mean, and he is good. And obviously, he went big and blew up with his argument or kind of debate, almost conversation with Billy Carson. Billy Carson is really big into breaking down historical Bible and has very these very super crazy, alien theories about the Bible and stuff like that, the Anunnaki. And it's very fascinating. I love watching that kind of stuff. The Joe Rogan side of me always comes out, but obviously he stretched a little too far when it comes to his interpretations of a lot of things. And Wesley Huff, being a literal expert in his field, made him look bad, made him look unknowledgeable. And I don't think Billy Carson has come back from this. I have no, ill will towards Billy Carson. Again, I love some of these really fascinating theories. Like I also like the Graham Hancock theories about ancient civilization and stuff like that. Those things, I find it so fascinating. So not to, no shade on Billy Carson, but dude, check out Wesley Huff, man. This guy, he blew up not long ago, and he is, articulate. He has such great descriptive ways of explaining the linguistics, all the progress we've made even very recently in understanding these ancient cultures when it comes like the Bible and the Quran and stuff like that, and how we are getting a better idea of what they were trying to say rather than like direct deciphering or direct translating. Things like he used this example on the Flagrant episode with Andrew Schultz and a few other guys, which did get a little heated a few times. And I definitely think you should go check that episode out. Shout out to Andrew Schultz and all his homies on there and Wesley Huff. But he used the example, if you're like trying to basically like learn English and you don't understand our culture, if someone was explaining something to you, the difference between a butt dial and a booty call, right? Butt dial versus booty call. Sound like this could mean the exact same thing to someone who doesn't understand our slang, our culture, stuff like that. So it completely different things. Like a butt dial, I accidentally called someone, and a booty call, right? A hookup. Dude, completely different. But the linguistics of it to someone who doesn't understand the nuances of the English language and Western culture would not understand this. They could easily misinterpret both of these things for the same thing. And that happened a lot when it came to the translation of the Bible and other historical and religious documents. And he's awesome. This guy's really cool, Jefferson Fisher. He's an attorney who does a great job on communication strategy and fantastic. I'm always looking to improve my communications. In these videos, I'm working on getting rid of like my ums, my likes, my ands, which I have a lot of work to do. I go back through these videos and yeah, it drives me crazy. So I apologize if you do get tired of the likes and ums and ands too. I get it. Trust me, I'm working on it. This looks good. I need to watch this. Okay. Dave Chappelle and Logan Paul? Yo, yeah, because George Janko obviously had the fallout with Logan Paul. I don't know if it was both of the Paul brothers, but like he used to be like this with these guys. I mean, they hung out, they were homies, and they kind of did him dirty in an episode, and it looks like they're, man, I'm so happy seeing all these people reconnecting. I gotta save this episode, so yeah, I gotta like it, and I'm subscribed already. Okay, cool. Let's like it just so I'm add it to my history. And then let's go back here. Okay, yeah, we reset. Here is Wes Huff again. I think I'm about to wrap this up, y'all. I just wanted to play through my feed and let y'all get to know me a little bit better and see what we are doing. I think was the Andrew Schultz and Bernie. Yeah, there it is. I gotta watch that too. Man, I'm really disappointed in Bernie. As someone who's not, I'm not like hyper political, but I'm in real estate. I got to know what's going on. I'm on the more conservative side. There were a select amount of Democrats as a more conservative person that I liked. Tulsi Gabbard, RFK, and Bernie Sanders. Even though I disagree with him on a lot of different policies, I felt like Bernie was authentic, actually cared about people, and was not like this bought and paid for Democrat like a lot of the elite Democrats and the Rhino Republicans are. They're bought and paid. They have their agendas. They don't really care. They go along with, it's like the war movement with the Rhino Republicans and the Democrats. It's like they all want the same thing. The Democrats used to be like the anti-war party, and now it's like they're pushing for them. It's insane. But as of lately, especially after Hillary ran, I felt like, Bernie sold out. He definitely got pushed aside in by the Dems in favor of Hillary. And then from that point on, it seems like he has been really he's changed and lost that authenticity and that big desire for the people. There was that RFK, was it the Senate or Congress hearing, and Bernie was a part of it. And RFK kind of calls out Bernie, or someone called out Bernie for all of the money he gets from like big pharma. Bernie, dude, get back to your roots, man. As a conservative who, I have a lot of liberal and progressive friends who I think who do really like you. And as someone who I would like, dude, I just feel like you fell off, bro. Like Bernie needs to get back to the grassroots of what he stood for and being for the people. Again, in all fairness, I can disagree with his methods of trying to help people and some of the hyper-social stuff, socialism, but still, of all of the Democrats who pretend to be for the people, I think he really truly was. And it sucks that he has kind of fallen off, man. So, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else that catches my eye, and then we're going to wrap up. Coach Colin's really good. Same last name as me. Or no, I have my first name's obviously Colin. His last name, I want to say, is Colin. So, yeah, similar name. He's got a guest on. That's cool. He doesn't normally do that. I got to check that out. Got a little jazz right here. Got the Andrew Tate. This looks like, so far, has been a really good interview. This girl Tracy's doing a really good job. She's not really letting Andrew squirm out of some of the questions, but is obviously very reasonable. But she is kind of like, hey, your delivery method and, the misogyny and stuff like that. And again, Andrew has this persona and he's hilarious. And, both the Tate brothers are like wizards when it comes to communication, but obviously a lot of people hate them in the same way, like the Trump derangement kind of thing. Andrew has cultivated this, iconic personality, and people either love or hate him, but he is a wizard when it comes to the strategic articulation and communication, man. He's freaking funny, bro. If you can't laugh at some of the stuff he says, you're just, dude, like, get over it. Is that a Type R? Yeah, that's a Type R.
Let's take a listen to the exhaust.
I really want the new. I had the FK8 for a while.
The Acura Integra Type S.
Watch this. Oh, the Acura sounds better.
Both the Type R and the Type S carry a 2-liter 4-banger turbo, but here in the Type S it makes 320 horsepower, while on the Civic Type R it makes 315. The Type R gets this aluminum shifter, which feels really cool, while the Type S gets a leather wrap shifter. The Type R has this giant wing spoiler in the back, while the Type S gets this lip spoiler. Both have a pretty similar interior. However, the Type S has a cleaner vent and dash area, while the Type R wants honeycomb. Me want honeycomb. With
I don't mind the
you
honeycomb.
get comfortable leather and suede front seats that are heated. The Type R gets these bright red seats that are heavily bolstered and don't get any heating action. Also, the Type S has a power adjustable driver's seat,
I don't
while the
like
Type
the
R
red
doesn't.
carpet.
They both share the same 9-inch touchscreen display, but
I
the
like the
Type R
seats.
gets a Plus R log section to track your performance. They
Okay.
both have a 10-inch digital gauge cluster, but the Type R gets this cool Plus R view that looks much better. Now, I think the Type S looks a little better than the Type R, but it is actually about 5 inches longer and weighs an extra 31 pounds. Let's take a listen to the exhaust sound of the Honda Civic Type R.
Okay, yeah, and as someone who owned the FK8 in 2017 when they first came out, I actually had like the 150 something model ever made that I bought here in Texas. It was a great car. I do think the interior left a lot to be desired, and then it was a hyper aggressive look, so a lot of people either loved or hated the FK8s. As someone who did really like the FK8, and I've sold it since then, and I'm in a Honda Accord right now, keeping the budget low, blah, blah, blah. That being said, man, I do like the FL5. It seems a little more refined, a little bit more power, a little bit more room. The interior is definitely picked up, but it's not as eye-catching for sure. A little off-roading, like a little off-roading here and there. Is that Jackie Chan? Let's go. You got some preaching going on. There's the episode again. I think we went over that one. Okay, cool. Well, there you go. I think we went 30 minutes on this one. Again, just shooting the shit with y'all, trying to let y'all get to know me a little bit better. I thought it'd be cool to go through my feed, which I think does a great job. Our feeds kind of are cultivated and curated for what we watch and who we are. And this lets you kind of see a little bit more of me and get to know me a little bit easier and quicker. Again, I want to build these relationships with y'all through this content. I want to, and again, I'm going to kind of throw stuff at the wall and see what seems to get the most views and attention, what y'all like the most, where y'all getting the most value, and how I can grow this channel and be of service to you, whether it's entertainment, information, informative, all that good jazz. So yeah, there y'all have it. That's my YouTube feed. And yeah, I hope y'all had a little fun with me. Thanks for joining me. If you did, as always, I'm trying to grow my channel. Please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I've got like 18 subscribers or something. I'm working hard. I think the last like 3 videos I put out have 0 views. I get it. This is a grind. This is going to take a while. I'm going to stay the course. Don't give up on me. If you watch my content, you know, I appreciate it. And I hope to catch you on the next one. Peace.